Going on with everybody? It's your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you in this green dungeon right now, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I have somebody on Skype right now, not FaceTime. But I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I am Lena Paul. I am a pornographer and writer, and I just, if it involves fucking, I probably have something to do with it.
Okay. Speaking of people who have things to do with pornography and smashing, just like the later part of this year, I've been trying to interview more porn stars, and I realized that they're more difficult to talk to like try to like get an interview with. You were very easy. I don't know if like if you're different from them, but like everybody is like, am I getting paid? Like, who are you? Like, let me see some evidence. I'm like, oh, like calm down. So, but you like responded quickly. Yeah, so you responded quickly. You were nice.
Oh my
So,
god.
so that made me want to ask: are porn stars mean? Because I feel like y'all are just mean. I was like, goodness gracious, they just get me out the paint. So, are porn stars mean?
So funny. It's so funny that you ask that because like I feel like I've had this conversation and like I've had to explain this before, but like the thing is that everybody wants something from sex workers, and like there's so many smooth talking like, oh, I want to collaborate, I want to do this, I want to do that, and like we all kind of know what that means. And so some girls, I think that makes them defensive.
Yeah.
And like they're on their guard, like, is he trying to human traffic me? I don't know.
That's is that what you're thinking? I was not thinking that at all. I was
No, like dead ass. Like it was one of those things. I just saw this movie today. Well, I saw the trailer for it. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna roll a blunt and watch it after I hop off the phone with you. But it's like the whole premise is based on like a cam girl who gets a super stalker, and I'm like, oh yeah, so like you just wrote a horror movie about reality. Like we're all
That's crazy.
like, there's pictures of my house all over Google. It's fine.
Well, have you ever got emailed and got scammed or was close to being scammed?
I yeah, like people have sent me a lot of scams, like, oh, like I basically, posing as a publication, and then like they want to get into a Skype, and then like you realize you're kind of like suddenly back to like the early 2000s chat roulette, and it's just like a dick in the like, so I'm like getting
funny.
like war flashbacks from like my high school days of like going through like just endless dick pics.
So
But yeah,
did you have any fear that when you called me, my penis was just going to be like flashing on the camera?
it's always like in the back of my mind, but I mean at this point, like I've done, seen so many dicks, it's kind of whatever. You though, I did my homework on you. I think the thing is that a lot of girls don't do their own press, or like don't do their own like marketing or stuff like that, and so they don't know how to like vet the reals from the fakes. And like furthermore, like we're blue collar Hollywood. We're doing it all on a way smaller budget. So like when you're interacting with a porn star, you're not interacting with like her PR guy or her manager. Like you're interacting with her directly. Like she's the head of her own business.
Is that stressful that you don't have a PR or management team, that you're doing it all by yourself?
Um, it gets you really good on time management. My background was startups before I got into porn, so I kind of just approached it like a startup. And, like I'm used to bootstrapping, and so this is my third year, and like I finally hired staff to like help me with some things like editing and doing some press stuff, not a ton, but a little. I'm like slowly giving over control. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so it's kind of a process. Like you kind of hit a point where you can't afford to like sit and answer all your own DMs, if that makes sense.
I think it's interesting that you said that you did your homework on me, because I think I did my homework on you. I think I'm a pretty A+ journalist, as I would like to say. And I realized you're pretty interesting. I think so. I would like. I don't know how much this is going to be about porn, because I read your tweets, and I see you have like a lot of like interesting views. But I do want to ask you this, because I realized that like I look at like the comments of like a porn star's Instagram. It's like a whole bunch of like older men with like very close like up face selfies. And they're like they're like, oh yeah, I'm sticking my cock in that right there, and you know what I'll do to you, hot babe. So is it?
Like the Bangladeshi 14-year-old.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
it's weird.
it.
It's either like an old white man or old black man, or it's like somebody like not from the USA. That's always what I realize, and I don't know why, but
Oh, I know exactly why
Oh,
that
okay.
is. It's because porn is blocked throughout a huge part of like the developing world and like
Okay,
especially like India
yeah,
and the Middle
India,
East.
yeah.
And yeah, so like they get all their porn off Instagram.
That's hilarious. That's
Yeah,
wow,
no,
man.
I'm so dead ass. Like it's
That's
just like they're just trying to find like that one bikini like bodybuilder pic to like catch their nut to. Like the
That's
poor guys.
crazy.
I'm just like more power to you.
and now they can't even go on Tumblr because Tumblr's blocking the
Fucking Tumblr! I'm so heated about this. Okay, I gotta rant for just like 2
No,
seconds.
go ahead.
If you'll just give me this. I'm so damn mad. I've had a goddamn Tumblr since I was 15 years old. Like, you could probably say, like, if porn was a radical insurgency, like, I was radicalized on Tumblr. Like, I was fucking posting titty pics, like, in my college days. Like, I'm, like, learning about porn stars and all of this stuff. And it's the end of an era for me. I'm in mourning. Today is the day that the Tumblr ban on porn goes into effect. And I'm just sad.
Oh, it happened today?
Yeah, it's today, which is funny because it's also like coincidentally the National Day to End Violence Against Sex Workers, and I'm like, oh, cool, like another advertising and like legal channel for us shut down. That's great.
See, that's what I was gonna ask. That's interesting because I feel like a lot of people look at porn stars as porn stars and not people first. You know, so like they see you as like they see you as like a like a sex object instead of a human. How is that like I don't know, like what's your how has that affected you, I guess, since you've been in the industry?
Oh my gosh, we don't have enough time in this interview to like talk about that whole process. But I mean, I think the biggest thing that I realized was just that there's this thing, and I can't blame men for it completely because it happens to me too often in interacting where, you know, I'm talking to somebody and he's extremely polite, he's extremely just good stand-up dude, and everybody around him, you know, you can tell when you're talking to a sleazebag. Like, you develop a really good instinct for it in porn. And then, like, they discover what you do, and you're no longer, like, held within the same regard as the rest of women. So you hear really inappropriate things come out of good guys' mouths because you're this third space to them. Like, you know, their mamas raised them to treat good girls right, but they don't exactly know what to do with somebody like me necessarily. So like, and I even see this in the medical field. I do a lot of like patient advocacy for mental health, and like I'm having to drive up complaints up the chain of command against a whole hospital right now for like mental health staff that like propositioned porn stars while they were in treatment for like suicidal holds.
Like
yeah.
like a scene almost, like how you would see like in a porn scene, like how the doctor would have sex with the patient or whatnot.
Yeah, like literally there were nurses that were like telling girls when they would come in for treatment to these places, like not feeling well about themselves, and the nurses would start propositioning them. And so I'm like having to drive complaints up this chain of command with them, and it's just like everyone's so apologetic, and I'm just like, honestly, I'm not surprised. You know, this is the reality that we're accustomed to. And you have to develop a very thick skin to be able to do this job.
Something you said you just said that when you're a porn star you can like identify a sleaze bag. Now I've been saying this thing like to a lot of people like for the past month that I think, no offense, I think women are terrible at identifying good men. Like I think when it comes to relationships,
okay, well, what do you define as a good man?
I'm gonna take it there. So I even went to say that I think women are just not smart when it comes to relationships at all. And I say this because men, like let's say if I'm with my homeboy and we see a girl with a guy that we know, and we like doesn't she know like this dude like cheats and like does like all this terrible stuff? And it's like women kind of ignore that. And I've asked a woman before why, and she said that, I want to tell me if you agree, she said that like dating a good guy, quote unquote, is kind of boring. You want some excitement. She said that this is a young woman that told me this. She said that you want excitement.
That these women existed. I thought this was something made up by like incel
No,
Reddit.
this is not a, it's not a Twitter thing. This is a real life woman that I know for like almost 10 years, and she told me that basically dating men, like you want a little excitement, and then she was like, if he's not arguing with me, that's not exciting. That's boring. Like at least give me an argument here and there. So I want your opinion. Like, how do you feel about that? Is that your mindset?
No, I think that no, just in a like in a short, the short and long of it is fuck no. I think that the commonality that I'm hearing amongst these women is that they want unhealthy relationships.
Yeah.
Like I think, but you can't just say that that's a woman thing, because then like on the other hand there's the men that are running around on them. So like there's the groups of women that are picking these dumb assholes that just like want to like put their dick in anything, and then there's the men that are doing it themselves. And I think it's two sides of the same unhealthy ass coin. Like it's just they think that passion means arguing, like and that's passion's my fucking business. Like I spend an inordinate amount of time trying to keep my headspace in such a space that I can passionately connect with anybody that I'm touching, and that comes from communication and vulnerability and the ability to like accept people and make them feel safe enough in a space to like wild out and be a freak with you. And I just think that's like totally putting that's bass backwards is what it is. Like,
and it's funny that you say that, like it's the men too, and I think I've come to grips with myself that I think I judge women more than men, and I think the reason would be because
I judge men more than women. So
yeah, I was gonna say I think it's because that's what I'm attracted to. Like I don't sit there and study men because like I don't care about them, but a woman that might be like a woman that I like, I might study her more than a guy that I see on a basketball court. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know if that's
I totally
you know.
see that.
Yeah.
I'm interested in both. Like I genuinely love both men and women, so I think I definitely like see shitty things. Like right before I got on this phone call with you, somebody just sent me like all these receipts on this girl who's in our business who's like super popular, who I guess like basically assaulted somebody sexually like in her teen years and was like laughing about it and shit. And I'm just like, you know, you gotta hold men and women to the same standards of accountability. Like if a man can't do that, a woman can't do that. If a man can't, you know, push the boundaries on what a woman's comfortable with, you can't be doing that with either. Like for me, I just want us all to be nice to each other. Like fucking radical concept. Nice guys finish first with me. Like I fuck bad boys all the time. You know, like that's my life. But I go home every night to a really good dude.
I was gonna.
That's what keeps you loyal, you know?
I was gonna ask you what made you tweet that, because I seen the tweet about we have to hold women accountable, the same thing we hold men for or whatnot. So so somebody beat up somebody and they were like bragging about beating them up.
No. It was so much more like, it was like more subtle than that. Like she was talking about how in her teen years she lost her virginity by like basically harassing a guy into having sex with her. Like they were fooling around. And he said, I don't want to fuck in the place that we're fucking. Like, I want it to be special when we actually, like, fuck for the first time. And she just kept going and, like, hopped on his dick and did what she wanted to. And I'm like, that's not okay. You know, that's, if you switched the adjectives and that was, you know, a girl saying, I'm not comfortable with this, and you just shoved your dick in her anyway, like, that would be rape. Like, we gotta hold women accountable at the same level. Like, that's what feminism is. It's not giving women a free pass. It's fucking holding everybody to the same standard.
It's interesting that you bring up rape, because I've been doing a lot of videos on rape culture recently, because I just really like understood what exactly rape culture is. And one thing that I'm like toying the line with is consent, because I feel like there's a fine line between consent and we know women sometimes play quote unquote hard to get, right? So I think that I don't know, I want a woman's opinion on that, because sometimes consent might be a little blurred because you don't know if the woman is like wants you to play hard to get, or if she really doesn't want it. Like, what's your take on that?
I totally hear you, and I have the same problem as a woman who likes women. Like when I come on to women, I'm in the same position as you. Like, does she actually want me to do this? Because women are harder to read. Like, if a man is into me, I can fucking tell. Yeah. But a woman, it can be harder. And so like you find the ways to check in with them about what you're doing that's sexy. And like if a woman wants you to push her, because I've had conversations with guys that are like, you know, I tried to be a good dude. I, you know, made a move on her. She said no, and I backed off, and she got mad at me. She was like, why aren't you pushing me? Why aren't you, you know, like overpowering me and doing what I want? And he's like, well, it's because I'm a good dude. I'm not a fucking rapist. And that is a woman you don't want to fuck. Yeah. Because that's a woman that doesn't understand consent either. Either things that have happened to her that make her think that that's how men are supposed to treat her, or she just doesn't understand consent at all. And you need to get the fuck out of there. Like, it's not a good situation.
I do think there should be classes in school on like consent, because I feel like the lines are so blurred and people really don't know what consent is. So I feel like if school and people were educated, like health educators were educated on that topic, I think that'd be very beneficial.
Real sex education? You mean more than just like, this is how you get an STD, like teaching you what the fuck to do in actual situations? Absolutely. I mean, I think that's my constant complaint with porn, is that I'm not supposed to be a sex educator, but because of the repressive culture that we live in and how fucking backwards we are when it comes to what consent is, what healthy sex is, what sex education is, I'm put in the role constantly of answering these questions of what good sex is and what good sex isn't, and I think that makes me sad, if that makes sense. I'm happy to do it, but I'm sad that I have to.
There should be people already in place to do those things, is basically what you're trying to say.
Right. You know, I'm an entertainer at the end of the day. Like, porn is to real sex what WWE matches are to bar brawls. Like, this is not... I love what I do. I enjoy it, but it's choreography at the end of the day. Like, so much... If I actually, like, took you through what real sex looks like versus what porn looks like, it would be hilarious. Like, you know, even just in the technicalities of what we do, it's not like real sex. And that, I don't know, I'm gonna sound like an old lady, but I just think that we should have better sex education to where kids aren't, you know, learning about what intimacy is through fucking Pornhub.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because where I'm from, like, the health system or the health education system wasn't that great. So that I was going to ask you where you're from. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me. I'm from Gainesville. I went to Stetson.
Really? So you're basically from Jacksonville, because Jacksonville is like an hour away from each other. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm always flying out of Jacksonville.
Really?
Yeah.
How was it growing up in Gainesville?
I'm not from... I'm from all over. I lived in, like, Kentucky. I've lived in Florida. I've lived in Georgia, New Orleans. Like, I've been all over the South. So I didn't really, like, grow up in Florida, but I definitely appreciate it now. I think for me, growing up in a small town was really helpful for, like, my hustle, because I realized so quickly, like, how much I didn't really fit in and how much I needed to, like, get out and go do the things that I wanted to go do.
It's interesting that you bring up you growing up in Florida, because that makes me want to ask you, since you did grow up in Florida, how do you view like the Florida man memes and like, oh, like Florida man eats babies foot, you know? Like, have you ever experienced any of these quote unquote like crazy Florida things that happen in the news?
You know, like, the part of Florida that I was in was, like, Central Florida, but then, like, when I came to North Florida, because, like, I came out here for cheap real estate development. Like, that's my other side hustle, because, like, you can't just do porn. You gotta do a whole bunch of things. That's my little side hustle. And so when I came out to, like, North Florida, I suddenly got the fucking Florida man memes. Like, Jacksonville's cool and Gainesville's cool, but you start going outside of, like, the cities and, like, going into, like, the little country counties, and I'm, like, seeing... I was driving down the road, and I saw a van, or, like, not a van, like an 18-wheeler truck that had Clucks, with a K, logistics on the side of it.
That's crazy.
And then, like, the next day I saw, like, some truck with, like, big-ass, like, Confederate flags, and I'm like, I grew up in the hollers of Kentucky. Florida wasn't even in the fucking Confederacy. What the hell is this?
That is very interesting. Like, Florida wasn't a Confederacy, but there's a lot of, like, Confederate flags in Florida. That is very interesting.
There are many Confederate flags in Florida. I don't get it. It's weird. It's fucking weird to me. Like, the culture is... Like, half of it is so diverse, and then the other half is almost like rebelliously like they like it's like they go harder in the racism department because it's so diverse.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm
Like
yeah,
it's so fucking crazy. Like you hear people talking about like white genocide in the diners, like in the little country areas outside of like where I'm at, like when I'm out like looking at properties, and I see like people actually talking about like crazy like anti-diversity conspiracy theories. It's really weird.
I think that's a perfect leeway into racism in porn because although I haven't seen a lot, while doing 'cause I don't really like try to look for that in porn, but recently while doing while doing research for we're doing research for this interview, I happened to come across another video that wasn't you weren't in it. I forget who was in it, but it was a white chick and a black dude, and dude, I guess he was supposed to be like living with them, like he was adopted. So he came over there. The white mom, she cooked some food, and she was like, "I cooked some things that you'll like." She was like, "I got some fried chicken." She said, "I got some purple stuff." And I got some watermelon, and black bro, yum 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 yum. He was tumming on the watermelon. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I know who it was. She got a big booty. She white. Damn. I'm gonna find her real quick because she just did a podcast I was watching. But yeah, just what is your experience of racism in the porn industry? I gotta find this thing, but yeah, what's your experience?
I have a lot of thoughts about that one because, like, for me, when I first got in the business, I was in the business, like, 2 months before I did a quote-unquote interracial scene. Mm-hmm. Like, mind you, I had done scenes with Latino guys and mixed Asian guys before that, but of course it's not interracial until it's a white woman and a black man.
Yeah,
I don't fucking get it, but whatever. Anyway, so I did my first scene, and unfortunately, with my luck, it came out on Election Day when Trump won the presidency. And so these Stormfront-ass motherfuckers decided that I was this perfect candidate to get doxxed. And so, like, that was the first experience that I had with, like, stalkers and people, like, trying to find me and, like, show up at my house and stuff. Like, they put my name, my mother's name, my father's name, their house, their phone numbers, everything went up. And they were explicit. They're like, this is punishment for whoring yourself out to black guys. I'm like,
that's crazy.
So it's fine for me to be a whore. That's chill.
With a nigger? Like, what's wrong with you?
It's fine for me to be a whore, but I can't be a whore with people with more melanin.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
There was so much, like, it was so wrong-headed from, like, start to finish. Like, it was unbelievable to me. I think that racism in porn, what really irritates me is that the vast majority of the people that are paying for and patronizing a ton of these quote-unquote interracial websites are white men whose racism has gotten fetishized. So, like, they think it's extra dirty to watch a white girl get fucked by a black guy. And the subconscious, the underbelly of that is that black men are dirtier. It's like, that's why it gets them going, is that it's more degrading to watch in their mind that. And so then it becomes a kind of, like, humiliation. Like, you get obsessed with, like, cuckolding and, like, those types of genres. And, like, I don't do black on white cuckolding because I think it's fucked up. And not that, I don't know, it's complicated, actually, now that I say it, because I've been with partners of color who were into race play and wanted that done to them, and I was uncomfortable with it just because, not because they were wrong for wanting that, but because that fetish had been so taken and used by white guys as, like, this sort of, like, weaponized reinforcement of bad stereotypes. Like facial abuse has this website called Ghetto Gaggers.
Oh yeah, I think everybody knows it.
And it's just, like, all of these, like, weird, fucked up stereotypes, like, being played out, and it's really, like, it's problematic, because, like, to me, you know, when I'm doing a scene with a person of color, like, they're usually just like a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Like we've worked together, it's whatever, and then like we put our workout together, and it's like immediately received by this audience of really weird, fucked up dudes who are sort of like taking it and twisting it, I guess. And it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. Like I did a gangbang. Like I think my most recent scene that came out like right around Black Friday was a gangbang for Blacked.com, and so it was like, of course, everybody in it was a person of color, and I got a ton of questions about that, about like why would you do that in that way? Like, would that be received as something racist? And it's just like, to me, as long as it's portrayed in a way that's sort of eradicating those negative portrayals of like black stereotypes, like as long as it's not embodying those, it's fine. But it's hard to avoid playing into racial biases that are just really fucked up, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you bring up the ghetto gaggers thing, because from my understanding, the scene I was talking about, it was on a big site. It was on a Bang Bros, and then it was like a pretty big porn site. And I remember the chick. It was Rochelle Ryan. She was the one who was like cooking the watermelon and stuff like that. So yeah, like is there any amount of money that could make you be like in a racist type film, like where you're like call somebody like a nigger or like, you know, things like that?
Like, to tell you the truth, I've had men of color like beg me to use that word in like one-on-one settings, and like I tried it a time or two, and it just made me so uncomfortable. Like, even though like this is somebody who's like a person of color who's like, this is my fetish, this is that, and like, you know, to me that's sort of on par with like, you know, me wanting to get choked out and called a stupid bitch and spat on. Like, sometimes, you know, that's what you want, whatever. But I'm just not okay with like commercializing those types of things when they're going to audiences that directly benefit from like the continued subjugation of like people of color and minorities.
And it's interesting because I know it's like a big thing where people say like you shouldn't fetish shame, but if like a friend of mine was like, yeah man, I had sex with a white girl, let her call me a nigger, I'm gonna call him a weirdo, and I'm gonna let him know that he's a weirdo for the rest of his life. So
And like the guy who like asked me that was like so embarrassed about it. It was like very clearly something vulnerable for him. And like to me, you know, like I don't know if my kink is like finding people's weird, embarrassing shit and then doing it with them. Like finding like whatever that deep, shameful thing is. Because I think that there's a lot of power in sex as a form of interacting with things that you are kind of scared to do. So like, why do you think we all want to be spanked? It's because we got beat too much as children, and you're re-interacting with your trauma and reframing it in a way that feels empowering. Like, frequently we use sex as a way to sort of communicate with each other and cope with things that we wouldn't be able to normally. Like, that's why you have fetish and BDSM and most of those things. Like, those happen, like, most of our fetishes come from childhood traumas and experiences.
I've never thought about that, but when you say it like that, it kind of makes sense about spankings as a young kid growing up and like rephrasing them and turning them to a different thing. Also another thing that I've like wondered about porn stars are their relationships. Like, are you into open relationships, or are your relationships like, can you just have sex on camera for work, or could your partner also have sex for fun?
Oh my god, yeah. Like, my whole thing is that as long as you're being safe, as long as you're being hygienic in the practice, like, I don't own your genitals and you don't own mine. I think that, like, for me, to kind of like backtrack, I lived and worked in Latin America and did like a lot of anthropology, and so like, you know, basically my whole job in school was just asking why humans do the things that they do. And monogamy, if you really trace it back, that's not universal across the world. There are plenty of cultures that practice some form of like hypergamy or polygamy or polyamory, like some type of that. You know, monogamy is not our base construct. If it was, we wouldn't be, you know, cheating in 50% of marriages. That it's just, and it's probably higher than 50%, as many sociologists note. But I don't think that monogamy for life, when our lifespans are 3 times and 4 times longer than what they were 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think it's realistic.
So you can't date anybody that's not that's just like a monogamous person.
Um, my partner is more monogamous than I am. Like, he would rather, wait for me to come home than, like, go get some, like, average, you know, kind of lame pussy.
Oh. Okay.
Whereas for me, I'm just like, I'm like, I need, like, my fix. Like, it's like morning coffee. Like, if I'm not getting fucked, like, once or twice a day, I'm sad.
I like the way you just do a shot at like yeah, you got some average pussy, but when we come home and get some amazing pussy or whatever, that's funny.
That's like basically what he's intimated
That's
to
funny.
me, because like, I don't know, it's harder for men to go and be promiscuous in some ways. Like, for me, I can go on Tinder and I could probably get dick here faster than I could get Postmates here. In fact, I've proven that a couple of times.
That's crazy.
But, like, with men, I think women are so much more on their guard, because, like, the worst thing I can do with a guy is, give him bad head, use too much teeth, something like that. The worst thing a man can do to me is, like, kill me and leave my body in a ditch somewhere. Yeah. So I think that, like, women in general are more, they're scared, and so, like, they're just more on their guard. And also, like, we get all of this programming at early ages that, like, our pussy is something valuable that we have to, like, protect, and that there's, like, value to it in such a way. And it's kind of lame, honestly. I think that we should really, I don't know, take some of the stigma away from sex. Like, I believe in sex as a bonding activity.
See, you're better than me. I can't do it. Like, I look at sex as like it's almost like a precious thing, almost. And, like,
yeah, it should be precious. I think that, but, like, is the preciousness limited to its exclusivity? Like, does it lose its value by having more of it with multiple people?
I feel like, how can I put it? Like, I'm not like a person to say like, oh, she had sex with 8 people. Ew, I don't want to talk to her. Like, I'm not like that. But I feel like I feel like it's more about how a woman, in my opinion, carries herself within those, like, I don't know. I feel like it's deeper than sex. Like, it could, I feel like sex plays a part into it. But if she, I don't know, like, having sex with a lot of people, and I think just, like, not respecting yourself is different. I think that's the way I'm trying to say it. Like, I feel like you can respect yourself.
100% right.
You can respect yourself.
That are hyper promiscuous as an expression of self-destructive tendencies.
Yeah.
Like, we can't debate that one. Like, there's no amount of, like, wokeness that undoes that fact. No, I completely agree with you. You have to constantly reevaluate why you're monogamous, why you're polyamorous, why you're kinky, why you're open. Like, your sexual identity is constantly evolving, and because this is such an integral way of how we connect to human beings, like, this can't just be, like, a one thing. Like, you have to constantly analyze why you're doing it. Because I think even in monogamous relationships, you can have unhealthy sex.
That's interesting, because I feel like people in monogamous relationships, I feel like people in general just have unhealthy relationships. Like, going back to men being a-holes and women looking for the a-holes and vice versa. So I just feel like we as people just need to realize what's good in relationships and what's not good in relationships at the end of the day.
No, amen. Like, I can't agree with you enough on that topic. I think you have to be self-aware and introspective on these topics and ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I with this person? Why am I fucking this person? To what degree am I here of my own volition, and to what degree am I here because my skeletons are driving me here?
Yeah.
Like, I think we've all been in this. I don't know. I think if you've ever been promiscuous, you've been in a situation where, like, you find yourself touching somebody or fucking somebody or about to seal the deal, and you just look at yourself and you're like, why am I doing this? Like, do I really want to fuck this person, or am I just doing this because it's easy?
Yeah, I feel you. I feel like... No, my fuck, you going?
No, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say something. I was gonna say that I feel like you should do like a podcast because I feel like you like to talk a lot. I feel like you have a lot to say. I feel like people would listen to what you have
I
to
need to
say.
shut up.
No, this is perfect. This is a great interview. Like I'm enjoying this. I just feel like you have a lot to say, and I feel like you have 1 million followers on Instagram. It's a lot of followers. I feel like a lot of those people would want to hear. Like I feel like they care more about you than you like in a sex scene. I feel like they would like to hear what you have to say. I don't know if you ever thought about that, but that's something you should consider.
Um, like right now, I have this issue, and I tell myself all the time, I can do anything, but not everything. And so I'm trying to take everything like one situation at a time. Like right now, I'm working with a 501c3 to get subsidized mental health care to performers, and then like I'm directing and I'm producing, and I've got content, and I've got a partner, and like I have a real estate business, and so it's just like all of these things are all there, and I want to do it all. I need a clone. Like, there needs to be, like, I need, like, one of those, like, weird, like, 1990s twin movies where, like, I can just send the twin off to do double duty. Like, I see these girls sometimes that get in with a sister, and I'm just like, you lucky bitch.
I think it's interesting you brought up content because you tweeted something out that I wanted some, like, more explanation about. You said content is more profitable than paid scenes. What does that mean?
What that means is that, and I think this applies to all artists, be it, not that, like, I'm an artist. I think that when people are like, oh, porn is art, I laugh just a tiny bit. But anyway, like, anybody who's monetizing their creativity, who's monetizing their labor in a way that they're, like, working for themselves, I think that up front, of course, the content that you create for other people, be that, paid art commissions, be that for me, scene commissions, stuff like that, that's money up front. But when you're building a channel, when you have something that people want and you don't own the means by which people get that, you're conning yourself out of money. And so, like, for me, I can put a scene up, and sure, I'm not going to make my rate off of that in the first day that I put it onto my website or that I put it on my clip store or whatever, but over time in the various places, I'm making that asset valuable to me over time, and it will continue to make me money over time. And that is more valuable to me than, a couple $100 in my hand.
I think that's a deeper problem than money. I think it's like instant gratification is like a thing that I think that's the thing that's been sparked by social media. Like when you post a video, you're like, I want the likes now. I need everything right now. So people don't know how to wait because a couple $100 may not be worth it when you can get a couple $1,000s at the end of the month. So I feel like people don't really look at the larger picture at the end of the race. So yeah.
Right, and I think people they underestimate their own earning power, like, for themselves. If they were to take that resource and put it to work for them, they underestimate their own abilities, and they overestimate the ability of social capital to do the work for them. Like, they think, oh, I gotta go do this big thing because it's gonna bring me clout, and, like, up to a point, you get there, but, like, I agree, you need to chase clout in the beginning, but after you've hit a point where you've made it and where you have an audience of people that want what you have to give, you need to be actively making inroads to owning those ways that people receive whatever it is that you're making.
Yeah, I would agree. Before we get out of here, I have one more question, and then we'll go to the fan questions. Interesting. I feel like to be a porn star, you have to love sex. I don't know if I'm wrong though. Is that a thing? Because I interviewed one porn star, I forget who it was, and she said that she doesn't really like sex like that. So for you, do you like love sex?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's, for me, that was, I was looking at the drawing board before I came into porn, and it was a question of like, well, what am I good at and what do I love doing? And I think that for a lot of people, that's the secret sauce for success, is finding the thing that you're good at, finding the thing that you're passionate about, and then following that passion. And for me, that happened to be like other people's asses, basically.
And you say that it's so choreographed. So is porn actually enjoyable? Like, is porn sex enjoyable to you?
Yeah, porn sex is enjoyable to me. It's not as enjoyable as like me with the doors closed and not having to open up. Like I always joke with directors, I'm like, it's free if I don't have to open up. Which opening up is like, I want you to watch the next like pro porn that you see, and I want you to look at how, like, really analyze how fucking weird those positions are. Like what you would be doing in that position. Like, think about missionary. Like, usually when they're doing missionary, like, they're, like, the dude's, like, way up here, like, way back, like, fucking her like this. And she's, like, all the way back from him. And, like, really, you're going to be tangled up, like, all up on each other when you're fucking in that position. Like, that's the type of shit that I'm talking about. Like, but at the same time, though, it's kind of funny because I'll have people that I super love fucking on set. Like, I just get lost in them and I forget that I'm working and it's amazing. And then we have sex off camera and I'm like, wait, that wasn't as good.
That's crazy. How is that possible that the on-sex camera is better than the off-sex camera?
Because you make an effort. Like, some people, we get tired, I guess would be the way to put it. You know, we have to expend such a huge amount of energy. Like, I really try to suspend disbelief in that moment. Like, I'm not thinking about whatever like weird ass thing that they said before the scene that I just like internally rolled my eyes at and went, that's stupid. Like, I'm trying to like forget everything and find something about that person that I think is irresistibly sexy, so that way I can convey and really truly mean it that I want to just absolutely like ravish them on this camera. Like, that's a huge amount of effort. That's being really present. That's showing up. Like, how many times can you say that you've had that level of effort put into fucking off camera?
Yeah, I've never been ravished. That's a crazy word. I want to go to ravish me. It's an interesting word to use, man. Getting ravished.
Literally, like, sometimes people will look at me before I start a scene and they're like, you look like you're about to eat me. I'm like, that's because I am.
Hey, man, Lena Paul the Ravisher, man. That's what it should call you, man. That's a crazy word.
You can't be saying that in Me Too era.
Yeah. You just ravished her? What? Yeah, that's crazy. But last question is from a fan, actually, Morganomics. He says, ask her when she's doing a scene with dick drainers.
I don't know them. So I can tell you.
I don't know the dick drainers. It sounds crazy, but shout out to Morganomics.
Violent.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'd get along.
I mean, hey, you sound like you might ravish somebody while you're draining a dick, man. I don't know, man. That sounds crazy.
About to suck the soul out of that man.
But that's it. Anything else you have to say before we get out of here?
No, just thank you guys so much for having me on. It was super fun to talk to you. It was fun to meet a fellow local.
Yeah, pretty much.
Shit, we could have done this in person.
Facts, yes. Next interview will be an in-person interview with Lena Paul, man. Facts.
For sure.
But until next time, I say what I mean. I mean what I say. Haters are gonna hate. Players gonna play. Holler at your boy.